Hi guys, Forgotten Wolf here, and we are back in Mario Sluggers League Season 11, and now it's the ticking time bomb known as the race for the playoffs. Last time we saw the Monarchs and Knights get off to hot starts while the Spitballs crumbled. Let's finish the regular season. Week 4, and immediately it was one of the most crucial games of the whole season with the 2-1 Peach Monarchs playing the 2-0 Yoshi Eggs. The game started off with the Peach Monarchs taking a slight lead before the Yoshi Eggs took the lead again thanks to, surprise, surprise, Dark Bones. However, Wario would not be left behind by the Yoshi Eggs, and he rallied the Peach Monarchs to get behind him and come back to take the lead 6-5. One great inning from Blooper later, and the Peach Monarchs had their statement win against the reigning champs, establishing themselves as contenders. The other game this week was the 1-1 Diddy Monkeys going up against the winless Waluigi Spitballs, and the game was surprisingly close. The Monkeys struggled against the worst team in the league, and they were barely able to survive with a final score of 5-4. They got very lucky, and if running with Knights and Monsters, they were on bye. After week 4, the standings were as follows. The Peach Monarchs were at the 1 seed, followed by the Diddy Monkeys, the Luigi Knights, and the Yoshi Eggs down 3 places after their loss. Meanwhile, outside the playoff race was the Bowser Monsters and the Waluigi Spitballs. On to week number 5. To start week 5, it was do or die time for the Bowser Monsters, 1-2, and sat far behind the other teams in the playoff race, and desperately needing a win. And you get the Diddy Monkeys. Bowser Jr., and Green Critter desperately tried to keep the game close, but with Red Magikoopa benched, they needed pitching depth, and the core of Toadsworth and Blue Noki was just not enough to deal with PD Piranha. But the Monkeys once again did a Steelers and played down the competition, struggling to win the game. Ultimately, they held on to 9-8 to advance to 3-1 in the season, but it didn't look good. And speaking of not looking good, the Bowser Monsters fell to 1-3, and playoffs did not look likely. The other game this week was the Yoshi Eggs playing the Luigi Knights, the two of the league's best going at it, and it would be another great game with 2 MVP frontrunners, Dark Bones and Boshi, and Green Me for the other side, meant an MVP showdown. But Boshi and Dark Bones combined to win the game 9-6, while the defense for the Eggs adopted a philosophy of bend, don't break. For the standings, after the Eggs win, it was a 3-way tie with the Diddy Monkeys leading on tiebreakers, followed by the Peach Monarchs in the 2 seed and the Yoshi Eggs up to the 3 seed. With the Eggs win, the Monsters were thrown a lifeline as the Luigi Knights sat at 4 with a record of 2-2, and the Monarchs at 5 with a record of 1-3. Meanwhile, for the Spitballs, they were still last and winless, now needing a win more than ever. In week 6, no teams were on bye this week. There were 0. And the Peach Monarchs played the Luigi Knights in a must-win game for both sides. Blue Pianta and Red Pianta, along with Boomerang Bro, would give the Knights 13 points, but it would not be enough. The duo of Wario and Fire Bro, and Mario and Hammer Bro to an extent, contributed heavily to a 15-13 win in a high-scoring game, which could be game of the year. Wario once again proving he is the Monarch's best player and is having a career year. The next game was the Bowser Monsters versus the Waluigi Spitballs. If the Spitballs lose, they would be eliminated from playoff contention and would miss the playoff for the first time since Season 3. And predictably, considering it's the two worst teams, it would be a low-scoring affair, with Bowser putting the team on his back, scoring 4 points. Wow, guys, great game. Lots of points. As for the Spitballs, their crappy offense, no matter how good Birdo and Waluigi were, they just couldn't overcome the deficit, and the Bowser Monsters won, living to see another day, while the Waluigi Spitballs became the first team to be eliminated and had secured the number 1 overall pick in the Season 12 draft. Congratulations, you won the Tank Bowl! In the final game of Week 6 would be the Yoshi Eggs versus the Diddy Monkeys, 2 teams that had a storied history with each other. World Series rematch from season 9. Both contending teams, both desperate to win and eager to get that 1 seed. The Yoshi Eggs would get out to a very hot start, being 10-3 thanks to Wiggler, Dark Bones, and surprisingly Rosalina. However, PD and Blue Dry Bones locked in, and the game went to 10-10. and the game went to overtime, and the Yoshi Eggs needed to lock in, otherwise they'd be in trouble. And the defense did its job, as in the last inning, it was Darkbones up to bat, and he bombed it, hit a dinger, and it was gone. The Yoshi Eggs won 11-10, and Darkbones had firmly put himself as the MVP favorite. Go check out my awards to see who won that. After a chaotic week of MSL, the standings were as follows. The Peach Monarchs were still leading at 4-1, having already clinched, with the playoffs just needing a win in the last week to get the 1 seed for the first time in franchise history. And the 2 seed was the Yoshi Eggs, also at 4-1, with a huge win over the Diddy Monkeys, allowing them to also clinch a playoff spot. At the number 3 seed, it was the Diddy Monkeys at 3-2, with a very small chance of missing the playoffs and a very small chance of making the one seed, so the best they could hope for was the 2 seed. At the 4 seed, with a massive win over the Spitballs and the Knights loss, the Bowser Monsters had climbed out of a massive hole they found themselves in just a week ago. The Knights had the 5 seed with them needing to figure out their defense, and the Spitballs were just trying not to go winless. And there were only 2 playoff spots taken and 2 left, and just 1 week to go. The new last week of the season, for the first time ever, we had rivalry week. The last week before the playoffs, first the Waluigi Spitballs versus the Luigi Knights. Knights eliminated with a loss, and the Knights would get off to a very slow start, which Birdo used to her advantage and gave the Spitballs an early lead. Blue Pianta would try to close the lead, but it ultimately wouldn't be enough, as the Waluigi Spitballs pulled off the upset and won 6-3. Finally, a win this is probably the last win, last game of Waluigi's legendary career as a Spitball and for JMick14. With the Knights losing, they have been eliminated, and the last 2 playoff spots have clinched. The Diddy Monkeys and YouTuber Crow and the Bowser Monsters and YouTuber Monkey Man have clinched playoff spots and will be returning to the playoffs. Now, to see who they play. The Peach Monarchs played the Diddy Monkeys in a classic rivalry of LB Swimmer versus Crow. The Monarchs looking to get the 1 seed, while the Monkeys fighting for a home series advantage. The Monarchs are in a critical situation, needing to win here, and in predictable Monarchs fashion, they crapped the bed. Despite Wario, Hammerbro, and Fireball playing well, Petey and Diddy Kong played really good and gave the Monkeys a huge win, 15-8. Having ruined their biggest rival's chance of getting the 1 seed, the Monkeys were overjoyed for that, but also having high morale for another reason. Petey Piranha, with 2 home runs in the game, had totaled 9 home runs on the season, and this ties the single season home run record in MSL set by Darkbones with a Season 8 MVP season. And that's good for Petey, man. Now for the last game of Rivalry Week and the regular season, and it's another classic rivalry. The Forgotten Wolf and the Yoshi Eggs versus Monkey Man and the Bowser Monsters. It would be a battle of 2 players who you wouldn't expect. Darkbones for the Yoshi Eggs again, picking up another 2 home runs and ending the season with 7 home runs on the season. And for Bowser Monsters, it was Toadsworth. Really, Toadsworth is your best batter. Both teams, however, would have one of their best players being complete ass, being Boshi for the Eggs and Green Critter for the Monsters. The Yoshi Eggs won a low-scoring game, 5-3, to get the 1 seed despite all odds. And with the regular season over, these were the final standings in the regular season. With a record of 5-1, the Yoshi Eggs took the 1 seed. And in the 2 seed, the Diddy Monkeys, having tiebreaker for the 3-seeded Peach Monarchs with a record of 4-2. To end the playoffs, it would be the Bowser Monsters sneaking at 2-4. How the hell did a losing team make the playoffs, by the way? And the 2 teams missing the playoffs would be the Knights at 2-4, losing 4 straight to end the year. And in last, the Waluigi Spitballs at 1-5. This leaves the playoffs as follows. In the 1 seed, the Yoshi Eggs versus the 4 seed Bowser Monsters. And in the 2 seed, the Diddy Monkeys versus the 3 seed Peach Monarchs. Well, that is it for me for now. As now, it's playoff time.